Can't do this anymore. Sick of dual agar. Sick of the dual agar community. There is nothing wrong with hovering. Nothing at all. Not even... I've seen people complain about people having distracting names on the leaderboard. Alright? That excuse has more merit to it than calling someone a hoverer or telling someone they hovered. Because, so right off the bat, there's no definition for hovering. It exists on a completely case-by-case basis. When I do it, it's not hovering. When you do it, it's hovering, you know? Any of these people that tell you you're a hover noob or whatever, ask them to define hovering. They won't be able to because there's no definition that exists. It's a completely an opinion. That's why all these tournaments that try to outlaw hovering struggle so much, is because they can't define what's not allowed, which makes running the tournament very hard. JG was hosting a tournament, and he said no hovering, and he had to spend like a page explaining what was or wasn't allowed, and then he was like, and then there were like more rules. It's because it can't be defined. That's why he's struggling so much to define it, because it can't be defined. It's just something we say on a case-by-case basis. It's just some flimsy excuse that we do to dismiss it when someone beats us. Instead of saying we play better, we say they're a hoverer. And that's typical mentality of 12-year-olds and people that play duel, but it's gone way too far with the duel community. So let's suppose for a second hovering can be defined, and I will admit that it's sorry, I'm not used to this mic. I will admit that most people can, to some extent, agree on what hovering is, so I'm not restarting the video for that. Okay, let's draw some circles here. Let's draw a wall first. So we'll get our thick line. So this is right wall. This is top wall, okay? Duh. And I, Mr. Blue Circle, alright, am chasing Mr. Red Circle. Alright. What do I do? Just pretend these aren't to scale. I'll clearly, you know... Okay, so what do? I want to corner them. I want to eat them. I can't just split on them. I know here I can. This is just a bad drawing. What do? Do I go directly to the red circle? Do I follow him like this? No, clearly I don't, because he can just run away then. Alright, so what do? Do I go like this? Do I go this way? This looks a bit more effective. He's blocking off. Instead of just chasing him, I'm blocking off the ways he can exit. But what if it's not sharp enough? What if he can make it around? What if he can kind of go like this way? Or do I go like this? So that's a question. In this very basic circumstance here, what angle do I go out? Let me save you some time here with a little hint. If you are stupid enough to believe this, there is no way in hell you are smart enough to figure out this. Alright? I'm just going to save you some time there with that little tip. Alright? Because there is no merit to the... Fuck. There is no merit to this hover excuse whatsoever. So I'm up... Wait a sec. To make it even worse, hovering is not only not a bad thing, it is actually a good thing, and I'm going to explain why. There's a very complex dynamic when you're hovering someone or whatever. Now, okay, back to this circumstance. And remember, we're imagining Red a bit bigger than I drew him, because this situation probably isn't the best example. But let's imagine Red a bit bigger. The bigger you are, you know, the more trouble you have split running across to the other end of the map. You know, that there's no mystery there. Everyone knows that. The littler you are, the easier it is to split run. It's easier to reset, etc., etc. But the bigger you are, the more distance you can cover with your splits. I can just split into 16 when I'm really big, cover a shit ton of distance. When I'm little, I can't do that. So, big people have more immediate distance whereas little people have more long-term distance. So there is a huge art to this game of, sure, you can hover people and you can chase people smaller than you and try to eat them, but they're smaller than you, so they're faster. So you just be chasing someone faster than you. So for that reason, you can't just, people act like hovering is this magical hack tactic, and you just hover them and you get all their mass. It's not that simple because they're faster than you. You need to trap someone faster than you. There's finesse involved in that. In this situation, for the reasons we just explained, I can't just, fuck's sake, I can't just follow red in a straight line. Oh my god, I clicked on line. I can't just follow red in a straight line. All right, because he's faster than me. He's just gonna beat me to this right wall and then go down. Okay, I can't do anything. I need to use finesse. I need to trap him. I'm disadvantaged because I'm slower, but I'm advantaged because red's in a bad position. He's next to the walls. I can use the walls to my advantage. Right? So I go like this or the, etc., etc., etc. The exact answer in this situation isn't important. I'm not gonna get out a fucking protractor. So on one hand, the smaller people are an advantage because they're faster. On the other hand, they're at a disadvantage because, I can cover more distance by splitting immediately. So I can use that boost distance, as we call it in hashtag, whatever. Some people, I guess it would be called savaging to some extent, depending on how small red is. Use your boost distance to throw out almost like a sticky hand to mass, grab an enemy, and bring it back. All right? So there's that. But above that, hovering is a perfect information tactic. It does not add luck to the game. Everyone can do it. Everyone can do it equally. You could say, well, this person has more mass than me, and they're able to hover. That's not fair. Well, yes, they're also able to split on enemies larger than you. That's kind of how the game works. But everyone is allowed to hover. You are allowed to hover when you get number one. It just doesn't make any sense why you'd be opposed to it. And the reason, of course, is that people don't like admitting that they made a mistake or that they can improve. Everyone has a god complex in Dual Agar. That's something I've learned through having conversations with these people. Everyone thinks they're the best player. Well, I hate to break it to you, but all of you except for one person are the best player. That's kind of how the concept of best works. And probability wise, you probably aren't the best player. Maybe you are. Anyway, so in conclusion, hovering requires tactics on both. For both players, the person escaping needs to know where to escape. The person approaching needs to know where to approach. There is a complex and dynamic strategy involved with it. It does not add to the luck of the game, and it is almost primarily used as a way to dismiss criticism or to dismiss evidence that you're not good or not as good as you thought you were. All in all, this seems to be a way to deflect any knowledge that runs contrary to your perception of yourself. And everyone thinks, again, it's like what I was saying earlier, everyone thinks they're the best player you can be. But let me say this right now. While it might be easier in the short term to deflect this kind of criticism by just calling it, hovering or whatever, in the long term, you will not become a better player if you don't own up to the mistakes you make and learn from them. All right, if you just spend your whole day like JG or the Shichiro guy on Solo 2, you will never improve as a player, and you will just suck like they do. They're terrible players, and they haven't improved in a very long time because they deflect all the criticism and all chances to improve. They just call it hover, hover, hover. The way you improve as a player and maybe become that best player, whatever you hope to become, is to learn from your mistakes. One of them is that you got hovered. Some tips for you: don't get in corners unnecessarily. Don't go against walls unnecessarily. Don't get sandwiched between viruses and enemies unnecessarily. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, so that's what I need to learn about the game. But just dismissing everything as hovering, dismissing hovering as an illegitimate tactic, which it isn't, is never going to make you improve. The fact is that hovering is here, and it's here to stay, because there's no way to define hovering, so there's no way to make it illegal or not allowed. There's no way to enforce it. If you would like to play Agar Network to make a server like many people have, they will make you admin on the server, and you are free to ban people that do whatever you conceive of or consider hovering. Of course, this won't happen because everyone that says everyone that complains about hovering is 12 and doesn't have any money. But so yeah, the main idea from this, apart from all those reasons why hovering is an okay tactic, rather, is that if you really want to improve as a player, learn from your mistakes instead of just blaming them on other people. When you get killed, it's your fault, not your enemy's fault. One last thing: if someone's just sitting on top of you, and uh, well, trolling is one thing. Everyone knows that. But sitting on top of you and just spam respawning, that could be considered a bad thing because spam respawning does introduce luck into the game because of how the spawn system in Duel Eager works. It does spawn your cell randomly. But like realistically, I know a lot of you think, oh yeah, that's what I consider hovering. And yeah, I think you say hovering, whenever someone kills you. That's at least my experience with the term. It's that people use it very wishy-washily to describe any experience that they don't want to learn from or don't want to acknowledge, you know. But I'm really rambling now, so I think I've gotten out my main points. So I'm gonna end the video.